going to be so happy with this, but it fascinated me because I've never heard anything like this. And I have to predate this. When I started on the metaphysical pathway, it was in 1971 or 72. And one of the first things that metaphysical teacher said was, he was talking, I don't know how we got on the subject, about donating blood and transfusions. And metaphysically, he simply told all the whys and wherefores that why it's not always the best idea, because you are picking up someone else's chi, their life force, meaning you're picking up ancestral stuff as well. So you don't know what you're picking up. You could never know. And this person who donated the blood or the organs or whatever else they're donating these days, they wouldn't know perhaps that their great-grandfather committed incest or suicide or something, or he was a murderer or she was whatever. You can't know the history. And very subtly, that's going into whomever is getting it. Now, the argument, of course, is, but it saved their life. A metaphysician does not look at things that way, but 99% of the world does. So that's all I'll say about that. We look at it differently. But what this young man told me along that same line, I found absolutely mind-boggling. He had a best friend in his 20s, and at 27, the best friend died. And as a tribute to the best friend, this young man that was speaking with me had the back of his hand tattooed with something, I guess, that almost looked like a dove coming up and out. Now, as he said that, he also said, but he didn't go on about that for a moment. He said, I have 2 questions about tattoos. Apparently he has a few of them. That's fine. That's your choice. He said, and I've been reading a lot on the works of Plato, and Plato talks of bondage and chains. So I was thinking of adding to a tattoo and adding some chains. To which I simply said, well, after speaking with you, you've led me to know and understand you're not one who wants bondage. You don't want to be in chains, and you've led a life to break those chains. And every time you are aware of the fact that now you've put chains back on your body, subliminally, you've given your spirit the message that you are not liberated, you are not free. So, you're free to do what you want, but that's the subliminal message that every time you look at it. He goes, whoa, okay then. And immediately he dropped it. He's not going to do that. And that's when he brought up on the back of his hand, he has this thing. I said, well, what reaction does it get when people look at it? Because you can't miss it, apparently. You extend your hand and there it is. He said, well, it's been very interesting. Half the people are like, they can't look at it. And the other people are like fascinated. And then he tells the story of his buddy. So I said, I want to ask you something about your buddy. Did he take his life? Silence. And then the kid says, well, it's unclear whether he took his life, because 2 weeks before he died, this young boy apparently was a very strong alcoholic. He gave up alcohol. And when they found him on his bed 2 weeks after that, next to him were 2 emptied bottles of alcohol. So what probably happened was inadvertently he had a massive dose of alcohol poisoning. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, doesn't matter. It was time for him to leave his body. So I said, that's so interesting. And then the kid said, without any further prompting, he said, I don't really drink, except after that. After he had the tattoo put on, the only drink that he will sometimes have is whiskey. which was exactly what took his friend out. Now, I know, because I've talked to people who have received blood transfusions from other people, that it transfers energy. So what happened was, some which way, the person who crossed over, the energy was transferred into this young man. So you got to be careful of energy. It's a very powerful, interesting topic. But I had never heard that perhaps a tattoo could have the same input and import as a needle, as well, I guess there it is. It's a needle. The needle did it. So he did ask me, did I think he should have it taken off? And that's not mine to know. That's his. And I said, I don't think it would be pain-free, and I think it'd be rather expensive. But you now have to understand the subliminal message that you get from this. And it also, every time somebody asked to hear the story, it dredged up the story, which means the dear soul who crossed over is not completely free of this plane. He has to hang around for the story. What are we doing to each other? Why? I think we're doing it out of ignorance. But I'm fully aware that now is the time to wake up. Now is the time for us to, okay, we'll get going again and kind of shout out. So if anybody has a tattoo story that they'd like to share, it's 321-806-3159. And I am Elaine Bartlett at the Purple Portal. Okay, so it's very interesting to me that people wanted to know about their wealth area and their love area. And the illumination area, not so much. But what is that about? Maybe you're already all there. Maybe that's the thing. So my caution for the illumination is find another place other than the traditional South area. And for your success, the success areas and fame and fortune this year is the Northeast and it is the North. So those are the pockets that are going to be activated by some of your cures. And in the Northeast, to activate success and good fortune, or what we call in Chinese, we call it fortunate blessings. They're very specific. They want you to have a fortunate blessing. And so the cure there is fire. And what does fire look like? It could be a fireplace. It could be candles. It could be something red. It could be something pointed. A sharp point is fire. Let me think about what else would be fire that I would get. Oh, a sunburst. Just saw one of those the other day, and I was thinking, what a great cure that would be for somebody's home. Just a sunburst. And it could be that it's gold. Sometimes you see the sunburst like a gold metal thing. There's actually a cross-wiring of elements. We've got gold, so we've got metal, and we've got the points, which is fire. So that's a very good cure. The moon is not a fire cure. The moon is more of a water cure. Okay? So things that are straight on and pointy, sharp. Actually, herbs are a fire cure, which is one of the things that will help some of you listeners. Chinese herbs. I know our culture has now gotten a little jumpy that China is going to do us in. It's not going to do you in. Some of these companies are very ethical, very moral, very honorable. But herbs, incense is a fire cure. Something called moxa. Any of you ever dealt with moxa? That's a Chinese herb. It's a fired up herb. It's not for a layman. If you go to an acupuncturist, you might want to ask them, what is moxa? But sometimes that's the thing that can lift the person into a better space, but only under supervision, that one. So we've got actual fire, okay? And when you're using a fire cure, sooner or later you have to light the candle. It's one thing to have the candle there. Also, I like the number 9 for the fire cures this year. So if you're going to go build yourself a mini fire with candles, get 9 of them. And what the heck, again, now I'm kind of splitting hairs here, but you could get 9 red candles. Why not? It's a sort of a fire upon a fire. And even if Northeast is your total loss zone, not this year. This year it's a lucky zone. And I was reminded this morning in my preparation for today, some of you that have studied with me, we've spoken of the 4 pillars, which is based on your year of birth, your month of birth, the day, and the hour. Those are very important. Though, I was reminded this morning, what supersedes that are your 10-year luck pillars. And I can, as I really stop and analyze a person's chart and what's happening, and that's why sometimes one of those pillars clicks in and your home that was one color, you wake up tomorrow and you have to change the color or change the bedding or change the location of a room. It's quite interesting when those things click in. And for those of you that really you're interested in this and you want to know, what did happen? Am I at a change of a 10-year pillar? Go into my service area on my website. This is what I do. So, I give consultations on the phone, via Skype, any which way, in your home. So I'm available for you. You just have to pick up the phone and connect, or pick up an email and connect. All right, now we're going to move on to something that's going to be happening at the end of this week. On Sunday, the 26th of February, and the reason I'm extending out that far, it's because I'm not here until Tuesday, so we have to look at Sunday. And it's a very, very intense energy that's going to be generated by a new moon. Now, it's the new moon in Pisces because we've stepped into Pisces, so now we're under the sign of Pisces. And yet it's only the beginning of it. So some of you Piscean energies there, you're still feeling a lot of resistance and rebellion. But nonetheless, we're in the Pisces energy, and on Sunday there's the new moon and a solar eclipse. So that adds energy to the new moon. So who's going to be affected in this Piscean little burst of energy? Certainly a Pisces. Opposite Pisces is Virgo. So those two signs, just be alert, be aware, watch your mouth, watch your own fire intensity inside yourself. And then the other two signs are the Sagittarian energy and the Gemini energy. And because they're all the 4 what we call mutable signs in astrology. Those are the 4 signs that are the most bendable and pliable. In case you're looking for a pliable partner, it's Pisces and Virgo, although sometimes Virgo can be too analytical, but they come with a pliable mind. And Gemini and Sagittarian. Every sign has its high points and its low points. So I didn't mean to just pick on Virgo there, because Pisces can go off the deep end in self-pity and too much servitude. On the other hand, they can be the saviors. They're really good at the compassion thing and the healing thing. So every sign's got its high side and its low side. And the Sag can be over the top with exuberance and almost too exaggerated and too expansive, versus they're the true metaphysicians of the zodiac and the philosophers and the wise